This is Dead Like Me, the series. Is it good? My discussion of it. Spoilers, part 3. I'm Auckland. If you enjoy my content, please hit the subscribe button, like button also. Share with friends who don't mind. Also, please comment, ask me a question, or comment in general. I'll do my best to answer them. Also, if you don't mind, hit the notification bell down below, and you will be notified when I go live or upload another video. And if you want to be a fan of me, then that's what you do. I got my notes. This video is focused all on Season 2. The past part was finishing up Season 1 and starting Season 2. So, my notes. Alright, when last the priest, the father, had just been reaped and died. George's next death appointment was at this golf place, which had something to do, what she thought at first was this boy, but it ended up being the boy's father, because she falls for this boy, this guy. What I'm trying to say is she falls for him. At first, like I said, George thought that she had to reap him, so she went to leave because she didn't want to do it. But soon realized it was the guy's father. Later, George showed up at the guy's father's funeral, and the guy called George his girlfriend to a family member. They hid underneath a table and made out till they were caught. And they were caught by one of the family members. Okay, Mason came with George to this golf place, and he was drinking there at the bar. He's always drinking. There's hardly ever a time when he's not drinking unless he's trying to not drink. George and Mason left after George had reaped a man at the wedding. They went to another part of the golf place, and there was a wedding there. It wasn't the groom, but a guest there, the one that got reaped. George left behind a earring that she was wearing by accident at the wedding place, at the golf place, same thing. And then she went home. When she got home, the guy that she fell for at the golf place was there, and he had her earring that George had left behind. George asked him, "How did you find out where I lived?" "From Mason," the guy said. George and him soon began to kiss, and it turned into more. George was no longer a virgin now, but she was undead still. So, I guess it still counts. George's mom started to date again. She is dating the apartment guy. I talked about him in one of the other past parts. He draws a whole lot. He drew George's mom a couple of times, and then later on he came over to George's house, and he and George's mom and Reggie went out at some kind of park to fly a kite. And then later they went back home, and Reggie went to bed after her mom told her to go to bed. The apartment guy and George's mom make out a whole lot on a couch. The guy that slept with George, back at Mason's house where she's staying at now with Daisy, they were in the bed together, and the next morning, the guy had left. So she left George. And this angered George a whole lot. She was very upset. So she went out and damaged public property and ended up in jail for it. Roxy, with her being a police officer, gave her a quarter, because she showed up at the jail, gave her a quarter for her one phone call. Dolores gets George out of jail, Rube has to be away on personal business, and you'll get to find out what that is later on. Daisy found love with a man at a bar, but there's something about him though. But then Rube came back. The guy that Daisy is with is not good for her at all. He's very abusive and very controlling. He wants her to play like an actress because Daisy, when she was alive, she was an actress. So this guy wants her to portray like she's still acting and messing around with other men that are married or whatever. And this guy is forcing Daisy to do this. This is the guy that Daisy is with. So he's horrible. So the guy that she's with, let's see. So she flirts around with this guy at the bar, that the guy that Daisy is forcing her to do this to. This other guy that she's flirting with as an actress now, playing the part. He falls for Daisy after she flirts with him and kisses him and stuff like that, and he leaves and wants to meet up with Daisy later on somewhere else. Well, this guy has, I think it was a girlfriend or a fiance, and she walked up to Daisy, and boy, they got into it, I tell you. I had to read my notes. The guy that Daisy was flirting with, he's married, and it was his wife that showed up. And she confronts Daisy. Daisy has been hanging out with a girl who wears, Reggie. I'm getting my notes all messed up, sorry. Reggie has been hanging out with a girl who wears all black and thinks about death all the time, so she's a goth girl. So Reggie's going through another stage because she's acted out before, but now she's doing it again in a more different way. And Reggie is now being called, this girl that she's with calls herself Raven, even though that's not her real name. And then Reggie starts wearing black herself, and she also changes her name to something else. I can't remember exactly what it was. Reggie, let's see. So, with all this going on, Reggie has basically, it's not really a sleepover, but almost a sleepover. And Reggie and Raven have 3 other girls over at Reggie's house, George's mom's house, however you want to say it. And they're all sitting around on the floor, with one of the girls laying on the floor, and the others are surrounding her. Now, it's kind of like a spoiler from another film called The Craft. Fantastic film, go check it out. But The Craft is about witchcraft, and this scene that I'm about to tell you about is in that film. So they're all sitting around, and they're basically doing the same scene from the movie. The scene is where a girl lays on the floor, and the 4 other girls try to lift the girl laying on the floor with fingers. They put fingers underneath her, and they do chanting, light as a feather, stiff as a board, light as a feather, stiff as a board, and they keep on repeating that. George and downstairs, George's mom and George's dad he's there, and George's mom is telling him that I'm trying to remember what happens, but Reggie sees him and gets upset and says no boys are allowed. It's supposed to be just all women, all girls. George's mom tells him that she isn't happy. George's mom tells him that she isn't happy with Reggie, and that it's just a phase that Reggie is going through, and she has friends. So George's mom is saying this to George's dad. They have names. I just can't remember what their names are. I'm thinking, if I can remember correctly, George's mom, I think her name is Joyce or something like that. I think. Alright, let's get to it now. So, Joyce is saying to George's mom that Reggie's going through a phase right now, and she has friends now, and George's dad is very happy. They're both very happy that Reggie's got friends. Reggie has never had friends really at all. So both of them smiled at each other. Joyce wants to work, so she goes to Happy Time, where George works at, and gets interviewed by Dolores for a job. Joyce likes files, shelves, boxes, and labels, because Dolores had asked her what she is interested in and what she'd like. And then Joyce found out that her daughter had worked at Happy Time, and she had asked what George had done that day when she had died. Dolores didn't remember. She didn't remember at all. Daisy and Mason had been helping out George reap an elderly lady. They showed up at Daisy's house, and the guy that she had been seeing was there. The guy wants Daisy. She tells him to leave, and that she is done with him. The guy that Daisy met at the bar that is no good for her. But he grabs Daisy, puts her up against the wall, and grabs her throat. He gets very violent with her. Mason grabs I think it was a plate that had glass on it, beats the crap out of this man to the floor, and just kills him. So Mason had saved Daisy. But here's the thing. The guy didn't get reaped. And then something happened. And this only happens when somebody dies and there's not their time to die. A grave link came out of the guy's body on the floor. And Daisy told Mason, thank you, and that she has seen something like this happen before. And I have my notes right here where I just told you what all that was. Mason gets a shovel and buries the guy in the yard. I can't remember if it's the front yard or the backyard. Might have been the backyard. Makes sense. Roxy came by later on by Daisy's house, which used to be Mason's, with a file on the guy who Mason had just killed, because he is missing. Of course he's missing. Daisy believes that Roxy knows something. Daisy is scared and hasn't been sleeping very often at all. Daisy told Roxy that her and the guy were done and she didn't know anything. Reggie was feeding JD ice cream and he got sick on the carpet in the living room, I believe. And so she let him outside. But something horrible happened. Yeah, I didn't like this at all. JD, the dog from the other parts, he got hit by a car. But the boy that we that I talked about in one of the other parts, the Reaper boy, he had reaped JD. And Reggie didn't necessarily see JD get hit, but she saw JD, and he was gone. And let's see. And George went over to Daisy's house to tell her that her dog was dead, because I think, if I remember correctly, George was there also. And Daisy said, "You don't have a dog." "My family's dog," said George. "You don't have a family," said Daisy. "It's been a day," said Daisy. She's having a hard time. She can't already sleep, so she's very, very stressed out. A grave link was outside, and it was the guy's grave link that came out of him. It was outside. It hangs around the house a whole lot now. And Daisy said, "Go, go away, Ray." Ray is the name of the guy. All right. Daisy soon told George the situation. Daisy said horrible things have been happening, and she said it's all her fault. George was saying that it was all her fault about JD. Daisy said that you can't, that you can blame it on me, because of the situation that had happened. Georgie had came by. Reggie had came by. Um, Reggie's dad had came by, and he found out about JD. He comforted Reggie. Reggie blames it on a woman named Claire, and Claire comes by to see Joyce all the time, and they're like friends. And Claire, and so Reggie had told Claire to shut the gate earlier, and let's see. Reggie had told Claire earlier to shut the gate so JD wouldn't get out, and the gate was left open because George's dad saw it, and so George's dad and Claire kind of get into it, and then Claire left, and so did George's dad. He soon left. George has been keeping a frog for a pet for a good while, and she puts the frog in a box and puts it on the doorstep of her parents' house and rings the doorbell and leaves. Reggie opens up the door and saw the box and soon opened it to find the frog. Joyce soon showed up and learns about JD and comforts Reggie. George was in the backyard watching. Reggie told her mom that she believes George gave her the frog because she knew that she needed it. Rube's past is slowly being revealed. He had went on a personal business trip before to find out about someone that he knew and is dead. Rosie is the person's name. He has an old letter that he has been carrying around, and he had sent it to Rosie with money in it, but the letter couldn't be sent because it was like 80 years old and something like that. I can't remember. Rube was at the restaurant with a woman that he knows. I can't remember who exactly what she was. She showed him a sticky note with the name R. Sofer, and she showed it to Rube. He asked, "Is this your reap?" She shook her head, yes. Then she said, "I don't know if I'm doing you a favor." "I don't know either," said Rube. So Rosie, you'll soon find out more about her later on. Rube looked very upset, and this made him very, very, very sad. Roxy and the woman that Rube was with, they had talked. Let's see. She said Rube's daughter is going to die today. So Rose is Rube's daughter. And the woman that Rube was talking to, she told Roxy to take care of the old fool. The old fool. Then she left. George's dad came by the house, and he and Joyce had talked. Joyce had said that Reggie believes JD is still alive. "That's normal," said the dad. "Reggie believes George left her the frog." "That's not normal," the dad said. She needs counseling," said Joyce. He said, "I miss the stupid dog." He looked over at Joyce and said, "I miss you. I miss everything. because they've been having some hard times. They're not getting along too well. They're in the process of getting a divorce. I can't remember if it's already been finalized or not. I can't remember. Claire had came by. Reggie was listening, and Claire came by, and the father and Joyce got into it about JD. And then she left. That she had left the gate open. I already talked about this before. And then Claire left after a little while. I can't remember if I think I did mention that before, but it's in my notes, so I mentioned it again. Dolores asked George to look up the file on herself at Happy Time and bring it to her. George got the file and looked at it, but she didn't stop there. She looked at files on other people who work at Happy Time, her co-workers, so she wanted to find out more information on them. George found a note from her mother, Joyce, to Dolores to tell her to give George a try, to give her a job at Happy Time. Mason steals money all the time. Now he's doing it more than ever before. He stole from a singer on the street, and then the singer then he also stole from the waitress at the restaurant that they all go to, Der Waffle House. And the waitress had kicked him out of the Waffle House because he was stealing her money. So, when you go to a restaurant and you leave a tip, Mason stole that. And Mason didn't want to leave, and of course Roxy was there, and she's a police officer, and so she escorts Mason and pushes him out of the restaurant and told him to live on the streets, that he just lost the only place that he had to stay at. Joyce and the father and Reggie had went to a funeral home for dogs to pick out a casket. The owner called George's dad a husband to Joyce. He was going to say something against that, but didn't. "Let's take care of JD at home like a family," said George's dad to Reggie. "Would that be okay, Reggie?" that he had asked her. "Would that be okay?" "Okay," said Reggie. George gives the file on herself to Dolores. George said that she would change it because her mom, Joyce, was wanting to look at it, and it has some information about her that she's not very proud of on herself, and she wanted Dolores to get it changed. So she and Dolores end up getting together, and they work together to change George's file to make it say different stuff. So when Joyce gets to read it, it says a lot of good, proud stuff about George, but they don't change too much of it. So, let's see. And Ray's grave link has been causing problems, but Daisy was there to stop him around town, I think it was, I can't remember. So she was able to stop him for now, and she reaped 2 people. And I believe this is where I'm going to stop it at until part 4. My notes are all messed up. I'm doing the best that I can. I hope you enjoy it. Alright, thank you so much. Alright, bye. I look forward to the next part. Thank you so much. Alright, bye.